I was so ready to move out of my parents' house. I thought I was, at least. I had been working and going to school full time, all the while I was saving money. The original plan was to live with my parents until I finished school, but the lack of privacy and freedom, it just wasn't worth it for me. I was a bit rushed in finding an apartment, but I felt like I had made a good choice. The rent was fairly low, the area seemed fairly quiet, and the people at the office were really nice. The only downside seemed to be the age of the apartments. The building was a hospital back in the 70s, and after some issues with an underground organ business, the hospital sat vacant for about 5 years, only to be turned into an apartment complex. My first day there was spent sorting boxes, panicking, and ordering takeout. I had taken the entire weekend off of work so that I could focus on settling in, but I soon realized that one weekend may not be enough for one person. I went about pulling out clothes, toiletries, and household must-have from the boxes. I planned to get everything prepared so that I wouldn't be overwhelmed searching for things as I sort out the apartment over the coming week. The first night I spent sleeping on a blow-up mattress. It was comfortable enough, but the thing that kept me awake was what sounded like water dripping somewhere in the apartment. I checked the bathroom faucet, then the kitchen faucet. Nothing. I considered that the noise may be coming from a neighboring apartment, and eventually went to sleep. The next morning, I got up feeling particularly groggy. I went over to the bathroom sink to brush my teeth. My toothbrush is nowhere to be found, which is odd because I specifically remember unpacking it. Trying not to let my impatience get the best of me, I began digging through the boxes again looking for my toothbrush. After about 10 minutes of this, I decided it's best to just get ready and pick up a new one so that I can brush my teeth in the bathroom at school before heading to class. As I walk back over to the bathroom and look for my hairbrush, I'm dumbfounded. My toothbrush is sitting right there on the edge of the sink. I glance around trying to figure out how I overlooked the toothbrush, but I don't really have time to process it as I need to get to class. After a long day of school and work, I swing by a Thai place close to my apartment to pick up some food. As I wait, a girl walks up to the counter to place her order and joins me in the rating area. She seems particularly chatty and friendly, so despite my fatigue, I engage with her. She begins asking me if I've eaten at the restaurant before, to which I say no and explain that I've only recently moved to the area. She tells me that she's lived in this area her whole life and that this Thai restaurant is the best place in the whole city. She goes on to ask where I live, and I tell her at the Glen Flats. As soon as I say this, her eyes grow wide, and she leans back a bit. "What?" I ask. She responds with, "Oh, nothing. That place just gives me the creeps." I hear my name being called from the counter, and stand up to go get my food. I exchange goodbyes with the girl, and head out. On the drive home, I couldn't help but think about the look on her face. But I quickly forget about it as I pull into the parking lot of the apartment complex and hunger takes over. I now have my TV set up and plop down on the couch with my takeout. I watch a few episodes of my favorite show. I start to doze off not long after. I wake up, startled to see that the picture on the TV keeps flashing in and out. I pick up the control and turn it off, then back on. It seems like that fixes the issue. I get up and head to bed. In the middle of the night, I'm awakened to the sound of the TV blaring in the other room. I cautiously walk around the corner of the hallway to peer in the living room, thinking maybe someone had broken in. But the room is empty. The TV is so loud I cover my ears and walk over to turn it off. As I look around, I can't find the control. I could have sworn I left it on the couch, but it's nowhere to be found. As I continue to look around the room, I go over to the TV and unplug it. At this point, I'm thinking it might be faulty, and start to fret about how much a new TV will cost. I head back to bed and almost doze off when I hear the dripping sound again. I'm so frustrated that I get up and stomp around, checking everything from faucets to toilets to pipes under the sink. No luck. But as I'm heading back to my room, I freeze. The control for the TV is sitting in the middle of the couch. I blink and rub my eyes. What the hell? A mix of anxiety and confusion creeps up. I can't be that tired and stressed, I thought. I slowly walk back to my bed, trying to take deep breaths. It's just a control, I think. I must have overlooked it. As I lay in the bed, the dripping sound seems to intensify. I cover my ears with a blanket and finally drift off to sleep. In my dreams, I am laying on my bed, listening to the dripping sound and the TV blaring simultaneously, but I'm unable to move. As the dreams progress, the sounds distort more and more until the drip sounds like bangs, and the TV sounds like a woman screaming. The scream gets louder and louder. It's nearly deafening, but then I jolt awake, suddenly aware that the scream may have been my alarm clock. I had overslept by about an hour. I get up and rush around the room, getting ready for work. As I walk up to my bathroom mirror, I jump, thinking at first that someone was standing behind me, but quickly realizing that it was just the outline of a coat hanging on the door nearby, being reflected in the mirror. After dragging through another day of school and work, I get in my car and mentally prepare myself to head back to the apartment. The moment I pull up to my building, I look up at the apartment, dreading the idea of going in, and in the window, I see the outline of a person. Oh, hell no, I think, and immediately call my dad. Within about 20 minutes, he pulls up and we go up to the apartment together. I stand by the door while he walks around, looking for any signs of an intruder. He tells me with an empathetic look that everything seems to be in order. He tilts his head to the side and asks if I want to come stay with him and Mom for the night, to which I immediately say, No, I'm fine. I tell him goodbye and head back into the apartment. I don't waste much time getting ready for bed. I fall asleep quickly and wake up at about 3 a.m. to the sound of dripping again. But instead of sounding far off, the sound is moving from room to room. It's as if whatever is making the sound is slowly inching closer. Suddenly I feel taps on the blanket by my legs. The tapping aligns with the dripping sound. I'm frozen in the dark room, trying to determine what is going on. My heart is pounding, and I sit up slowly to hold my hand under where I feel the drip. I'm shaking. Within a second, a drop hits my hand. It's a leak. I feel relief and confusion all at once, and I stand up to turn on the light. When I do, I look down at my hand, and I immediately feel faint. It's covered in bright red blood. I look over at the bed and see a spot of blood on the blanket. I look up at the ceiling and see a red stain. My head is swimming, but I stumble out of my bedroom with my cell phone and call 911. As I'm talking with the operator, I wipe my hands off with a dish towel and go stand outside to wait on the cops. I don't know why, but I feel much more safe outside of the apartment. The cops arrive about 15 minutes after the call, and I run up to the car and explain who I am. I follow them up to the apartment and take them into my bedroom to show them the stain. But it's not there. I panic, throwing the covers around and looking up at the ceiling. It was right here, I exclaimed. The officer looks at me empathetically and asks if it's possible that I was having a nightmare. I pause, then run past them into the kitchen to grab the dish towel. I wiped it off with... As I stare down at the towel I'm holding up in front of the officer, I realize that it's completely white and clean. The officer starts to head towards the door and explains that if I see anything else to let them know. He mentions that I should consider having a friend or family member over to help if I'm feeling quote-unquote unsafe, and I immediately understand the tone. This guy thinks I'm crazy. I say goodbye and slowly close the door behind him. Despite my immense fear and confusion, I'm stubborn, so I sit down on the couch and switch the TV on, planning to pull an all-nighter if it means I don't have to have those dreams anymore. I stare blankly at the screen. Tears are rolling down my face. Is there something wrong with me? I start to doze off, eventually jarring myself awake periodically and glancing around the apartment. At some point, the TV switches off and on again rapidly, and I stand to unplug it once more. I hear the dripping sound again. This time it's close. Very close. As I walk towards the TV, I feel a shooting pain and look down to see blood all around me. The next morning, my coworkers called my phone over and over again. Of course, I couldn't get up to answer or see it, but I knew. I never missed work after all. I laid on the floor for almost 2 days before the cops showed up. When they did, I watched as they looked around the apartment, searching for some sign of entry, but there was none. I watched as they carried me out on a stretcher, with a cloth covering my body.